find in a lot of cases, I'm going to show you a couple of examples, and I'm talking really quickly because I'm aware of the time. We find in a lot of examples that there's some amazing, extraordinary people within organisations that could become value propositions and win things. I'm going to show you a couple of examples. They don't recognise the extraordinary that's sat all over their business. We had a client that came to us and said, we've been trying to rebrand for 2 years now, and we can't work out our value proposition. We've got 400 products, and we don't know how to tell people what it is that we do and what differentiates us. And then we sat down and we did a workshop, and we had a cross-section of people across the business, and we just asked them simple questions about, you know, tell me about this, or tell me about that, or tell me about this Google Glasses thing that you played with. And you find out that there's these staff that booked a hotel room for the weekend and went down to B&Q and made up a proof of concept to go and present to the MOD, and they did it all out of hours. They haven't been paid for it, they weren't asked to do it, they wanted to do it because they were passionate about it. How do you get a better bloody value proposition than that? So we're encouraging people to start looking in different places to find what makes them special, what makes them great, and what makes them extraordinary. And also people are frustrated that they can't show the extraordinary. We find that there's always these barriers to extraordinary. The barrier we talked about before was we think it's reserved for remarkable. We don't see the remarkable in ourselves. But you know, we're frustrated that we can't show the extraordinary because of budget, because of time, because of scope, because of authority to do it. How can we make an RFP extraordinary? Right? Here's an example. This here was for a long time ago. The RFP asked for this bit here and this bit here. Basically, it was how many licenses are you selling us? What sort of licenses? And what's the best deal that you can do? That was the kind of RFP. Now, we had a bit of a maverick BD guy who really didn't care whether he was there or not. I think he was being tapped up for jobs left, right and centre, and he said, I want to do something different. This client wanted to go from high street bank to digital bank by 2020, I think it was. And John, our guy, said, you know what? We've got every single product that is required and every bit of knowledge and expertise to get them to where they need to get to, faster, better, cheaper than anybody else, and it's outside the RFP, right? Luckily, look, I'll cover off the flexibility to do that. Is that victory or 2 minutes? I thought that was victory, you're doing well. So we did all this. This bit at the end was, what's the gift? What can we give them? Not like that, but what's the gift? Now they had one person, this is the only thing I'll cover, they had one person that was tasked at this bank to look at technology and work out how their consumers were going to communicate with them. But he was planning for 2020 using technology that was available today. That's rubbish. That's crap, because it's going to be, in 2020, that's going to be gone. We're going to be using Google Glasses or retina things or stamps on our wrist or whatever. So we said, well, we own so we can get them to sit down for a day and we'll tell you what we're doing in 2020 so you can plan for that. So this was great, right? But you're all saying this. We can't do that with a normal RFP. There's too many rules, too many regulations. So granted, all the stars were aligned for this one. No stipulation on how it was delivered, 4 months lead time, an unlimited budget, which was great for us. Maverick BD, who didn't care whether he lost his job or not. Engineers and techies full time on this project. So what if the stars were not aligned? Well, I think I've got 30 seconds on this one. No budget, day and a half workshops, couldn't find a win theme, a USP, a differentiator or anything else. So we spin it, we look at it like an advertising campaign and we say, right, tell us some stories. And they tell us some stories, and one story was walks into one of our facilities and he looks around, he sees some dirty overalls, some oil on the floor, and people with clipboards, and he says, typical bang, got it. Right, all we need to do is change his perception of typical. So now we've got something to play with. So we walked around, we interviewed people on the coalface, and there was this guy that we met, an engineer, and he'd been there for like 30 years. And we said, what do you do differently to make your job easier? And he went, I've got this book. And he showed us all these things where he got yoga mats, and he bent them round, and he riveted them to stop them crashing into things. And some of the stuff that he did, this one thing that he did, we took back to finance, and we said, finance, how much money has he saved that company by doing that one thing? There were about 25 in this book, and they worked it out. It was £350,000 this guy had saved by being typical. And that's what we led with. Executive brochure, dividers, all through this document. It was bang, 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 bang. No budget, no time. Very, very strict RFP. We still managed to do all of that. So, I'm out of breath. Extraordinarily, it comes down to mentality, attitude, confidence, pride, and a thought process. And those lead to unique selling points, value propositions, powerful win themes, case studies, testimonial and proof points. And I've used up all your time. I'm really sorry.
I can live with that.
So,
can I have 60 seconds to close, Jamie? All right. And then we'll bring it to a close. Yeah, you take a break. This is what it's a love-hate thing. I mean, we have a few other bits to cover, but we'll skip through. I think there's a couple of important messages just to finish with. I think Simon's touched on it there. I think being a trendsetter is what it's all about. I think we're all in a world right now where we're happy to follow and maybe just get out of our comfort zone when it comes to bids and proposals. I think everyone knows what they need to do to be a trendsetter, but I think it's not that difficult to move from ordinary to extraordinary, I don't think. And especially when you look around you, what the competition are doing and what everyone else is doing in the market. Very few people actually embrace it on a daily basis. We talk about the bid life cycle. I've left the handout on your table, but we won't go through it in detail. But we like to think that at every stage of that bid life cycle, you go back and question what are the tools, the process, the people that you need at each phase to be extraordinary, and work your way through that. And if you don't have an answer to that question about being extraordinary at every phase, and you've got to question, are you in the right position to win it, and should you be even bidding the deal? So just the final takeaways. And for me, you go away and ask yourself the question, what does an extraordinary future look like for your people, process and tools? I imagine, part of it, definitely QBD toolset in the tools place, but look at your people, especially look at the process. What can you do differently that will break you into the extraordinary mold? And more importantly, understand what extraordinary means to your clients. Very, very few people ask that question. Because we've been given an RFP, we just tend to accept it. Or we say it's in lockdown, so we can't do anything. There's lots of ways to go and understand what extraordinary means to your clients.
And then just write on the board at your kick-off, want it more up the top of the board, and just remember to want it more and don't leave anything behind. It's okay to lose when we know we've given it absolutely everything. It's not okay to lose when you've left something on the table and you haven't given it everything. I like to say, what does the billboard look like? Let's talk about advertising. What does the billboard look like? When you've done the whole submission and everything like that, imagine a billboard on the M25, you're passing it at 60 miles an hour. What is that billboard going to say for you and for that opportunity? That's what we try and do. If that's the only thing you can take home from me, that's great. But also, look for the extraordinary in your business. It's all over the place. You'll find it everywhere. Talk to people. Share some stuff. I know that this is what QBD's all about. Putting good stuff into a great system to make everyone's life a bit easier so that we can concentrate on the stuff that sells, that makes us great. You're all in advertising. So start wearing Converse. Thanks.